We'll see how it fits into Parshat Noach. Before we get to the Sicha, before we get to the actual Sicha, it's in volume 10. And the Sicha was originally written in Hebrew. That was called Yiddish, of course, but the Sicha didn't have to be translated from a Yiddish Sicha. It was originally written in Hebrew. All the volumes from 10 through 14, and also from volume 30 through volume 34. Through that 34, Hebrew. The other volumes, besides those 8, are all in Yiddish, and they were later on translated into Hebrew. Some of the Sichos are also translated in English. This one I haven't found. So I would love to have could have brought the English version. I would have, but I couldn't find it. Before we get to the actual Sicha, I want to mention something. First of all, does anyone know how Parshas Noach is connected to Purim? What a wild question that is. Mm-hmm. How is Purim connected to this week's Parsha? Well, I know you're going to probably say, well, Noach got drunk. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It has to do with the ark. Not enough hints. It has to do with Haman, the Haman part of Purim. Where did Haman get the gallows? He went to Turkey, Mount Hararat, where the ark landed on. And he took a piece of that ark and he figured, since this ark, reminds us of the destruction of the world, it will help me in my cause to destroy the Jewish people. Little did he know that it worked just the opposite. It worked against him. The ark saved the Jewish people. It saved the world, and therefore it also saved the Jewish people. So I have an article, essay written by my brother in one of his books, not this book, this is volume 3. Volume 1, I think, volume 1, an orange book. I have a whole, and I have it with me. And you could have it for your Dvar Torah for Shabbos. Beautiful, essay on connecting what is the real deeper reason of Haman's belief that he will succeed by using the ark, and why did it actually cause his downfall? Using the piece of the ark, and why it actually causes downfall, a little bit deeper than what I just mentioned. So I'll give you that after, when we learn the Sicha first. Another question I want to ask. The rainbow. What was the rainbow for? Remind Hashem that it won't destroy the world. It means the world is not acting, there's a lot of problems in the world, and we may have been, maybe it may be that we deserved another destruction, but Hashem promised. A promise is a promise. He swore, and that's it. Obvious question. What's the obvious question on this rainbow symbol? It's part of nature.
Why does Hashem need a reminder?
Well, not that he needs a reminder. It's a symbol that he is not going to violate his oath. Doesn't mean he needs to remind. Just no. It means that Hashem is letting us know that only because of his oath is he not going to destroy the world. And the rainbow. Why is the rainbow the symbol? Not only why the rainbow. How could the rainbow be a symbol when it's part of nature? It happens. What causes a rainbow? You learn science. The rain droplets form clouds, and the sun shines through and causes a refraction of the light, and it turns into all colors. Part of nature. Something is out of the ordinary, some crazy earthquake, I can understand, tropical storms that are not normal if it's beyond the norm. But this is part of nature. So the Rebbe responds, it became part of nature only after the Mabul. Why? Because the Mabul, as you learned probably in the Sicha yesterday, I would imagine, was guessing that the Mabul was actually a mikveh. 40 days. How big does a mikveh have to be? How much water? 40 sa. Number 40. Cleanse the world. Made the world potentially receptive godliness. Far from being finished. That's Matan Torah did that, but it began the process of the world slowly but surely developing into a state of being receptive to spirituality and divinity. Yes.
You're not supposed to look at
I don't want to answer that question because it's a little off the subject. In fact, the rainbow is a sign of Mashiach too, but I'm not going to get into that right now. It's a whole. You usually get these kind of questions that are not relevant to the topic, and then I end up going into it and getting where I started. The wrong person. You're asking the wrong person because I have a nature of deviating enough, forgetting where I started. So it's a side question. Try to focus on what we're talking about. So why is the rainbow a symbol? Because it actually started only at why? Because the sun, by the way, sunlight is a metaphor for godliness for many, many reasons. Powerful, intense. It does a million different things at once. And it shines, all at once, all over the world, and it's an incredible source of heat and warmth and a lot of other good things. So it's a metaphor for godliness. Clouds are a metaphor for the world, what's going on. So how are clouds formed? Vapor arises from the earth. What's going on with the level of what's the barometer of spirituality the world has? And that forms the clouds. There were very, very thick clouds before the Mabul. The world was not a keli, not a receptacle for godliness. Yeah, the world was wonderful because God shined, the sun was shining, but it couldn't create a rainbow because in order to create a rainbow, the clouds have to be thinner. And the thinning out of the clouds, symbolizing the world going through a refinery, and what caused it? Change and multicolored sunlight, which means divinity going through diversity. That godliness is being welcomed, even in the world where there's so many multifaceted things going on. There's such diverse elements. To see the common thread, the rainbow represents that. So the rainbow was a result of the fact that God, don't destroy the world, it has some hope. You cleansed it. And now the world can be a keli. It wasn't possible. Tshuva was not even possible prior to this novel. When you sinned, you were so into it, so subsumed into the sinning that there was no return. But the Mabul gave a person the feeling of more of a refined feeling to work oneself up. So it changed the whole, until the Mabul, the world was existing only on Hashem's kindness. Bright sun, the sun shines, and what do we see? Everything looks bright, but did anything really change? Not really. Sun goes down, back to normal. The world was corrupt within, but Hashem was like overriding all that until the Mabul. Mabul came now, Hashem is saying, I'm going to shine based on your level. And that's why we see two opposite things happen after the Mabul. Number one, shortening of life. People lived 800 years. Can you imagine living 900 years? 100 years is a longevity. And slowly but surely, the lifespan went down, all the way down. Number one. Number two, but you got to guarantee that the world will never be destroyed. So although life is shorter, but this, whatever shortened life, at least you know for sure that it's not going to be destroyed through a Mabul, through a flood. So the reason for these differences is because at the beginning stage, if you're living on God's kindness, it's close to infinity. You can't have an infinity in this world, but you could have an absolute long life, almost 1,000 years. Symbol of eternity almost. Because you're riding on God's kindness. Hashem said, okay, stopping now. Now I'm going to give life to the world based on your eligibility, based on how good you can be. Well, now life is shortened. But because the world has hope, therefore, there's a guarantee that a Mabul will never happen again. I'm going to just share that. Now, one other thing I want to share with you before we start this Sichos, and that is a very strange phenomenon. God tells Noach, get out of a table, save on a table, and force the animals out. Why would you need to force Noach out of a table? I mean, he was, what kind of work he had to do? He had to feed how many animals? You think it's easy to feed animals? He had no sleep. He did not sleep the entire year. Just like, some people don't sleep on Sichos. Don't go to sleep. The Gemara talks about people who fell asleep with each other's shoulder. What kind of sleep was that? Not a very comfortable sleep. He was drained a whole year. We had to tell him to leave the table. Otherwise, he wouldn't have left. And Rashi seems to be saying that he had to be commanded to leave. He didn't want to leave. And the animals didn't want to leave. Forced them out. You know what the Rebbe says? That inside the teva, it was like Mashiach's time. The animals, nature of the animals were different. It was a foretaste of when Mashiach will come. In other words, it was even though he had to work hard physically to feed the animals, but the whole world inside the ark was a world that reminded you of the fact that there will be a time when Mashiach will come and animal nature will change also. He didn't want to leave. He felt like, I'm working hard, but I just basking in a light of godliness as he felt he didn't want to leave that. I don't want to go out in that dark world out there, the world where there just was a marvel. I want to go out there. I wanted to stay, in his comfort zone. The animals somehow also sense they don't want to go back to their old nature again, being destructive. And the animals somehow feel better being refined. Don't forget, the entire thing was a big miracle. Could you imagine if all the animals in the world decided to come to one place? Lining up one by one. Only the animals that behaved morally. From all over the world, they walked and file, one by one, the dangerous animals, a wild line. That was also miraculous. The whole thing was miraculous. It started even before they entered. How do you get all the animals from the rest of the world coming in? It sounds like a fairy tale. And Rashi acknowledges that. So even a 5-year-old kid knows that the miracles happened even before they entered. And any animal that didn't behave with its own species, intermingle with other species, didn't come in. Just the whole world is fighting and they wanted to stop Noach from all this. And they didn't succeed. I mean, how did he survive? He had it was a demonstration against him. Thousands and thousands of people were trying to destroy him, destroy the table, and they didn't succeed. The whole thing was a miracle. And Noach felt that he didn't want to leave. Hashem said it's time to go out and start having family life again, produce children, and make this world a godly world. Make the world great again. Sound familiar? Not bad, but I think it's a different bunch of days. So he felt hesitant to leave. And the Rebbe speaks about it. Maybe I got to be careful. 3 years ago, I got in trouble for saying this. One girl was very, very not happy with what I said. But I'll say it. I'll take a risk. The Rebbe speaks about strongly against family planning in this season. People added season, and he says, Noach also did not want to have any children after the Mabul. The rule. He says they'll behave, the world is so corrupt out there, even after, just a corrupt world. I don't want to have kids that are not going to grow up to be, who could support them, he had that problem. And Hashem said, go out there, multiply, inhabit the world with people, and serve me. We need to have people. Noach she was the first one to told, multiply, be fruitful. And don't make any calculations. And there's a story in Gemara. I'll leave that for a Gemara class. A whole story in Gemara with a great king who was destined to die because he didn't have any children. Because he did not want to have children. Why did he not want to have children? He foresaw that his children will be evil. So God says, who are you to make calculations? None of your business. With all the secrets of Hashem, what do you have to mix in? My business. Have children. And the Rebbe goes on to say that even no one should make any calculations. I'm not ready for it, financially and emotionally. Unless there's a sickness, that's a different story. Unless the person is not well, physically or mentally, or the marriage is unstable, then it's a mitzvah to take birth control. We're talking about when there's no reason for the marriage to, fall apart. And they're healthy people, both healthy, but they'd rather have it on a comfort zone. They'd rather wait a little bit, just got married, let's have some fun together. And let's make some money first, then we can support children. Not too many children, just, plan on have, 4 children. We'll spread it out in 10 years or 15 years. That was very much against that. And I'll tell you a little story, a personal story. I give custom classes. So I always tell the Chassanim, whether they like to hear it or not, that they should not, unless there's something abnormal going on in their marriage, unless whatever health problem, they should not. You're getting married, don't worry about it. Have children. This is what I knew I'm gonna have a hard time because this guy was chilled, and I knew I'm gonna have a hard time with this person. So I gave him the following. This is my my derasha. I said like this: the fact you don't want is probably a sign that on high, the child that you don't want is a very, very unique neshama, and the Satan is putting thoughts in your mind and your heart, and both of you. No, not now. In 5 years from now, maybe. So Hashem will say, 5 years when you are ready, I'm not ready to give the child that you were supposed to have. I'm not going to give you the nachas child. I'll give you a child that you won't have such nachas from. So you lost that nachas child, which is forever. Nachas lasts forever. There's no greater pleasure than a parent having a sweet child. It's the greatest pleasure. You'll see when you get married. There's no greater pleasure than that. Having a child that loves a parent and is sweet. Or in the Sichos, as a reward for your decision to have children, even though it's so difficult for you, God will also bend over. And even though you might not deserve to have a great child with a special neshama, he'll give you a child as a reward for your iskafia. So either it's a sign that neshama is coming to you for whatever reason, that's why you don't want. Or in schus of you're doing it in spite of you not wanting, this is what I said to him. What was the response? Thank you, but no thank you, Rabbi. If the Rebbe would tell me something, I would perhaps listen, but it's with all due respect, Rabbi, you're not the Rebbe. Okay. I said, I know I'm not the Rebbe. You have free choice. I'm just telling you, giving you my direction, my sermon. The next week, he comes back to me for the next class. Rabbi, you won't believe what happened. What happened? I went to the Ohel. We went to my wife and I went, my Colin and I went, rather, not wife to be, and we both came out of the Ohel. We went to the video room. There's a video room there. What was playing? Well, the Rebbe is screaming, it's translated in English, screaming against family planning. What are the odds of thousands of different talks that that moment I walk through, that will be playing? I told you if the Rebbe would tell me, the Rebbe did tell me. And we both made a decision immediately. We're gonna, it's very difficult. We never thought of having it. We'd be crazy in our mind. We said 5 years minimum. We decided we were gonna go through with it. And a baby was born on Gimel Tammuz. And father says to me, this is the baby I didn't want. It has made our marriage was, good, but it wasn't so good as this child is just giving us such nachas. Thank you, Rabbi, for your nice try. But the Rebbe mixed into this. I want to thank you. This is a little story I wanted to share with you. I told this to Mrs. Morozov. He's the college teacher of all the college teachers. He's like the head of all the college teachers. And nothing spaces her. She heard this and went, wow. I got her to say wow too. Okay, now we can learn to see about this. How long I spend on things that we're not learning?
Still learning, Rabbi.
No, I'm finished with Sikha. I'm going to skip around anyway. So the hard part here, the middle part of the Sikha is some very intricate Gemara type. I'm going to skip that. So, but the beginning and the end is very, very powerful and beautiful. You'll see vintage Chabad Hasidus in the middle. Okay, so it's Hebrew. I know it's Hebrew, and I know you might have a hard time following. But I'll try my best. I'm not going to translate every single word. You'll see what I wrote on the board, why it fits in English. So in reference to the story, Hashem tells Noach to gather all the animals, pairs. On kosher species, there's 2, and the kosher species, 7 pairs. Okay. But when it mentions kosher and non-kosher, it doesn't say behema hatorah, which would mean pure or kosher, and the animals that are trait that are tame. It says, instead of saying the word tame, it says the animal that is not kosher. And in order to do so, it had to spend eight extra letters. Let's see it inside. The Sichos in reference, Lema Shekosiv, Lamed Mem Shin is an abbreviation of two words. Lema Shekosiv, that which is written by Parsha Seinu in our Parsha. It says, quote, you are to take min abehema hatahora, from the animals that are tahor, pure, kosher, min abehema and from the animals asher, that which einele tahora, that are not pure. It could have easily said tameh. Amru Chazal b'Gemara, the Gemara says in Tractate Pesachim at the beginning, La'olam al yotzei adam davar meguna mipiv. One should never utter words that are not nice, that are disgraceful, derogatory from one's mouth. If you could say it in a nicer way. Shaharei, for behold, ikim hakosu, the Torah deviated. Ikim means like crooked. The Torah went out of its normal nature of being very concise. Ikim hakosu, scripture deviated from its normal routine. Shmona osios, 8 extra letters. And it refused to utter derogatory words about even an animal, a non-kosher animal. Where do you see the 8 extra words? How many words is Tmeya? Hatmeya would be 5 letters. How many letters is Tmeya? 5. Hatmeya. Hey, tough, mem, alapay. Asher einela tahira, 13 letters. 8 more letters. The Torah always loves to be concise. We learn so many halachas from one letter. Torah is so careful not acting. Tefillin. We have no idea how to put on tefillin without the oral Torah. The Torah is so concise. Shabbos. Does it ever say you can't write on Shabbos? Right? No, it says, how do we know? You need the oral Torah. The written Torah is so brief, so concise when it comes to halakha. And yet, when it comes to not disparaging an animal, and not a kosher animal, the Torah goes out of its way of not being so short. And instead of saying tameh, it says that is not tahor, that is not kosher. Okay, that's the gist. Let's go to the next paragraph. The Rebbe says, just like there's a lesson how to talk, to speak nicely. The Rebbe always a living example of that. The Rebbe never used the word death, the opposite of life, the opposite of good, the opposite of a tzaddik. He never used the word deadline. He hated the word deadline. Due date, not deadline. Or, due date is, a birth. Life, no death. There's no death in the Rebbe, Amazing how the Rebbe was so careful in his wording. Okay. But just like you have to have care in how you speak, even the Torah did that. Just as you have a lesson in our parsha concerning Lizihirus, to the caution in the language you speak, what words you utter, choice of words, al derech zeh, so too, yesh lilmoid miparsha zu oid hira. B'shaychus Lizihirus b'ri'iyah. There's also a lesson in how to look at something. When you see something, how to see it. We'll soon see what we mean by that. Be very careful with your eyes when you see something, as we'll talk about seeing a fault, a blemish in another person. And there's 2 ways to see it. Okay? And one of them is very not appropriate. It's not your fault, it's someone else's fault. But there's 2 ways to look at it, and there's a good way and a bad way, as we'll soon see. In reference to the being careful with what you see. And what do we see in this week's parsha with Noach? Noach was drunk, and he was compromised. He was without clothing. And what happened? Chum saw that, and he ran over to tell his brothers, "Did you see what's going on with our father?" And what do? They immediately covered him and walked backwards. They walked with their backs facing their father, not looking at him, but they covered him. That's the story in this week's parsha. They were careful with the ultimate caution, to see the nakedness of their father. They went backwards. Their faces were facing the other way. The shame of their father they did not see. And the schar, what was the reward? That shame and yefes were both rewarded. Shame means also name, but it means in the course of what he did, he was merited that Hashem should dwell in the first Beis Hamikdash. Shechina dwelled in the first Beis Hamikdash. Yepes, you know who was a descendant of Yepes? Koresh, Cyrus. He helped build the second Beis Hamikdash, but the Shechina was not there in the second Beis Hamikdash. It lacked one of the 5 things that were lacking. So although beautiful building, edifice, beautiful, Cyrus did, but it lacked the Shechina. So Yepes also means beauty, broadness, beauty, aesthetics. They're good, they're known for that, but the spirit is missing. Greeks are missing that spirit. They're good in their Gashmis is beautiful. Beautiful building, but no Shechina. The Yishkoin, where would our God dwell? Be all the same. But both of them were rewarded on different levels. But Chum, no, he wasn't rewarded. In fact, he was cursed. Baruch Hashem Elokei Shem. Hashem Elokei will be the God of shame, meaning godliness will be revealed thanks to his service, thanks to what he did of covering up his father. He Canaan, and Canaan will be a slave, will be servants, slaves to Shem and Yepes. Yepes will have a beautiful building. The Yishkin, however, will really dwell in the tents of Shem. Okay. So we see the greatness of what they did, and we see how Chum failed. However, the Sipra Hanal Tzrichim Lahaman. This story has a lot that needs to be understood. The Torah is redundant here. It says their faces, they were facing the other way, their backs were facing their father. So obviously, if your backs are facing, you don't have eyes behind your head. If their backs are facing their father, they couldn't see their father, right? So why would the pasuk have to add, after it already says that their back was facing their father, they didn't see their father's nakedness? What is it supposed to mean? That's obvious. That's the first question. Got it? After the pasuk said, they went where their faces were facing the other way. It's clear that they couldn't see their father's nakedness because their faces were facing the other way. Therefore, the question is, what does the 4 words and the nakedness of their father they did not see have to add? And here's an abbreviation that you're not going to figure out. Perforce we must say that the Torah is telling us a chiddush, something unique. It doesn't just mean physically they didn't see. It means something more, and we'll see what that is. Just by saying that their backs were facing their father, I would not know this incredible chiddush that they didn't see something. What did they see? It doesn't mean they didn't see with their eyes. It means something else. But to understand that, we first have to ask another question. And that question is based on what the Baal Shem Tov says. What does the Baal Shem Tov say? Baal Shem Tov says that when you see a fault in someone else, you're looking in the mirror. You remember this already? Where, yesterday?
Oh, no.
Oh. Okay, you guys gave me, I don't want to be just say that. Don't do that again. So a person looks into the mirror, what do you see? You have a dirty face in the mirror, it means you're dirty. You can't see sometimes. You look in the mirror, then now I know I gotta clean my face. If you look at someone else's fault, it's a mirror. At Khan is about something. But I was gonna ask a very obvious question. Keep inside a second. Why? Just because I see someone else, it means I have the fault? Good people. Yeah.
It wouldn't be seen. It wouldn't be seen.
Well, I can't hear too much.
Sorry.
What you thought of it? What did you say? If it bothers you.
Yeah, like, someone is doing like breaking the Shabbat because he doesn't know, and you like tell him his mistake, he goes to come to the place of love, and you want to help him. So it's not that it comes from you, but if you see that someone is doing something wrong,
Yeah.
and it bothers you, that means that you need to work with yourself. Like,
Why should it bother me? If I see someone Jewish who's not keeping Shabbos, it bothers me. That means I also don't keep Shabbos.
Oh, like, not only about Shabbat, but other things.
I'll give you an example. I see a person doing something terrible, and I go, oh, why would that mean?
Like, to analyze yourself.
Okay. What did you want to say? I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
It wouldn't bother you if it wasn't something within you. Like if you would view it as through a kinder light.
Who said I'm being bothered? I just happened to see something.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens. So why would it be that the fact I saw someone, I happened to watch someone do something wrong, it must be a lesson for me.
No, it doesn't have to be, like, it could. You could
If it
see
doesn't have to be,
say,
then what, how are you doing? What right do you have to tell me that I have the same fault that person has? It just happens to be, I have to see someone.
Like,
Yeah.
if you see someone speaking unkindly, you could say like, oh, they must have something going on, I feel for them.
You know,
You aren't judging them,
right,
but if you were to say, oh, what a rude person,
okay,
you're seeing that with.
so good, okay. Let's see it inside, I hear what you're saying, yeah, both of you.
See someone doing something like, let's say like super ungenius, and like, could it be that, like, the godly soul in you is like upset with like the evil in them that they saw? But not necessarily that, like.
Not necessarily, and it probably, it depends on how you're looking at it, let's see the system. Okay, well, you're guessing pretty well here, but let's take apart the whole scene from the beginning. So the Rebbe said like this. At first glance, I don't understand why we have to even say anything like this. What compels us to say that when you see some bad in another person, it's a mirror of your own faults. Why can't it be possible? And I'll just say the words. Why can't it be in situations? Only your friend has that. You don't have that problem. So the simple answer to the question, which is not a complete answer, but the Baal Shem Tov also says everything a person sees and hears is not just by chance. It's a message from on high. Why did you notice it? How come when you noticed it when someone else didn't? The lesson that you have to learn. But the Rebbe is going to ask a question on this. I understand that everything is about shgacha pratis. It's a sign that you have to. It means something. It's not just a chance to happen tonight. Bump in. When everything has to have a reason for it. No, it has a reason for it. It's milmaila. Hashem is providing you with something, a lesson to learn. But how do you know the lesson is that I have that same person's fault? I have that person's fault. Maybe the reason why I notice that person's fault is to help that person. Wouldn't that be straightforward? The reason why? Hashem has given you a job to be a mashbiah in a nice way, in a very kind, loving way. Rebuke that person in a loving way with words of coming from the heart. That's why you saw it, because you have the power, maybe someone else doesn't, to affect that person. That's the lesson you have to learn. Why should it be? You're good for nothing. You know why you saw it? Because you're looking in a mirror. Why are you so negative? Furthermore, the Rebbe says, not only is it maybe the other explanation is the reason why you saw it, that you have to be that person's mashbiah. It has to be that way. It can't only be this way. You know why? This is the part of the Sichos which is very, very powerful. Just like we say, Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people as a nation, are not a means to an end. The world was created for us. Everything that happens in the world somehow affects the Jewish people one way or another. It's for us. We're the center of the world. Doesn't mean we're arrogant. It means we have a lot of responsibility. Right, it's another discussion. So the Rebbe said that's true about the Jewish people as a nation at large. How about me and you and you and you, every single person here? It goes on the Klal Yisrael. No, it doesn't. Every single Jew is not there just for another Jew to get help. You help someone else, but it has to also be a message for you. So if we're going to say, you know why I see Reuven sees Shimon's fault, or Sarah sees Hannah's fault? Why is Sarah seeing Hannah's fault? So Sarah should start saying to herself, I got to shape up. So what's Hannah going to gain from that? Hannah's just there for Sarah to improve, and Hannah is being used? No Jew is a medium, only a means to an end. Every Jew, whatever happens to you in your life, that is God's goal, the end. You're the end. Everything that happens in the world and everything that happens to one Jew cannot be just for the sake of another Jew. It has to also be for your sake too. That being the case, we have to anyway say, logically, that if I see a person sinning or doing something very wrong with a harsh character flaw, call to action. Help that person. So why are you seeing that person's fault? So that person will gain through you. It's for that person's good. I'll also gain by helping that person, but that person will gain also. But to say that all it's there for is just to show what a bad person I am, and that person has to be used. He's like what am I, a movie screen here? I'm the mirror, and that's it. Then a Jew is a means to an end. No single Jew in the world is there just to serve something else outside of you. Not only that, the Rebbe says that even to say that a Jew is there for Torah is also not a contradiction to the fact that a Jew is the center, the ultimate. Because we see that the nature of a Jew, when is a Jew really a Jew? When you have, it's a nature of a Jew to have acceptance of the yoke. I mean, if your neshama is shining, it's Jewish nature coming from the godly soul to want to be butler to Hashem. That's part of being Jewish. So you're not being used, like a maintenance crew, being used to, to help out the, to make sure the yeshiva looks good so the kids can concentrate, the teachers can concentrate. As soon as they don't do their job, they're fired. Who cares about them? We don't care about the maintenance crew. None of us are maintenance crew. Every one of us is God's divine plan. Just like Hashem is not a means to an end. Can you imagine thinking like that? No Jew is a means to an end. Not even one Jew for another Jew. Every single Jew has to say, the whole world was created for me. Every individual is an entire world. And God's focus is on, just as we have a Matan Torah, Hashem spoke to every single individual. I am God, your God, singular. You imagine that? There are millions and billions of people there. And everyone said, he's talking to me. What a paradox. The largest group of people ever, greatest gathering in history, and everyone felt it's a one-on-one. One-on-one. He mamash felt like he's looking at you, talking to you. Yechidus. You are everything, the whole world depends on you. Okay. That's what the Rebbe is saying here in this part of the Sichos. So let's just see it a little inside. Vahabir was there. On page 24, the last paragraph on the left side, left column, the last column on the last paragraph on the left side. Vahabir was there. Every event in the world is by divine providence. This event that you see someone not behaving, so you see negative things in your fellow friend. It's not by chance. It's something that was provided to you from on high. And since God did not create anything in vain, why did he let you see that person's fault? Not but you cannot say page 25 on top, that from on high, that God should allow you to see someone else's fault for no reason. There has to be a purpose. Certainly there is a lesson to learn. What's the lesson? That you have that person's problem too, at least partially. It's a lesson and it's a notification. And what is that notification? That the ra, the bad that you see in your friend, is within the person. That ra exists in the person who sees the fault as well. And therefore you have to work on yourself. And it's upon you to correct and fix that flaw that you yourself have. Now the question is, whatever asked, if God wants to tell you you have a flaw, why must he do it through such a roundabout way? How about just telling you? Why can't it be a more direct way? Having a mashpia telling you you need to work on yourself. Why must it be through seeing someone else? What the answer is? Because a person does not see one's own faults so easily. Self-love is the strongest love there is. Even if it's not self, you love someone, you can't see that person's fault. There's a verse in Mishlei, Al kol peshoyim, upon all iniquities, is covered by love. If that's true about loving even another person, you can't see that person's faults, you love the person too much. How about self-love? So it's hard to notice your own faults. That's what it says on the board over there. The top says, it's actually a Mishnah. Kol negoyim, all, it actually means skin lesions. Talking about leper, skin lesions that a Kohen has to see. But it also means, nega means like negative. Nega, singular, and negoim, plural, mean all character flaws, all blemishes, character blemishes. Adam roa, one can notice every blemish in another person, except for one's own blemishes. That's the hardest to see. So Hashem has no choice, he has to show you someone else. Oh, that I can see easily. Someone else's faults I love seeing. That's easy to see. Oh, you see that? Now I have you know that you are looking in the mirror. So I cannot notice my own faults in the first place, but I can see someone else's faults.
משפיע כן see זה...
What?
מבינים? משפיע.
What?
כן see? כאילו, no problem?
It depends who the mashpia is.
אוקיי.
That's what we'll see. Depends who the person is. Well, we'll see. Is just the Rebbe. So again, the Rebbe says, and the Baal Shem Tov even has another on the board here. I wrote it twice. I put the comma over here first. All flaws one can see, comma, except one's own flaws. Or you can read it like this. Kol negoyim adam roeh chutz. Any fault that one sees on the outside, not chutz, except. Put the word chutz together with roeh. Kol negoyim adam roeh chutz. Any fault that a person sees on an outsider, you know where that comes from? It stems from one's own faults. We put the comma, instead of putting the comma over here after the word roeh, put the comma after the word chutz. All the goyim that person sees on an outsider, but the question is, that's cute. Question that we just said, how do we know it's that? Maybe it's simple, a lesson that you should be that person's mashpia. So the Rebbe goes on and he says like this. We find a Gemara, I'm going to just go quickly, skip a lot here. The Rebbe says that there's a Gemara in Sachim that says, he just quoted, and the Gemara seems to question, doesn't it say Tameh so many different places in Chumash? It does say Tameh a lot. And it's clear that, of course, it does say Tameh. You know when? When it's a psak halacha. When the Torah is telling you, this is kosher, this is not kosher, like in Parsha Shmini, where it gives you all the treif animal, you got to be clear. Don't play around with being, cute in your language. A rabbi, a rav has to be clear. I go after a rav, is this chicken kosher? Well, I wouldn't say that it's, you can't bicker around. You have to be clear. It is treif. Because if you start bickering and start adding some, words, and you're not 100% clear, it could lead a person to misunderstanding what the rules are. So the Torah, when it comes to ruling, it will say Tameh. When will the Torah not say Tameh? When it's telling you a story. Part of not halakha. A story. Why disparage an animal if it's not negay halakha? Telling you a story about animals. So whenever it's a story, animals that are kosher, animals that are treif, we're brought into the table. Nice story. Whenever it's a halacha, it'll say Tameh. That's the rule. The Rebbe says the same is also true when it comes to seeing. Depends what you're seeing. There's two ways to see a person's faults. Are you seeing a story, or are you seeing a call to action? Are you a doctor, a spiritual doctor, or are you just thinking lashon hara? Not even telling, even without telling you. Cham went ahead and he told his brothers, even worse. How about just tell yourself that person really is? Oh, I never knew that. Wow, geez, just think. Look what you did. Look what you did. You're talking to yourself. Then you know what that. Of course, the real reason why you saw that is to help that person. If you would have that in mind, if you would only see not how sick the person is, but how you must help, like a doctor. Imagine a doctor just looks and just has enjoyment of how would want to go to a doctor like that. His job is to help you. And the bigger the problem, the more he's serious about trying to help. So you have a spiritual doctor too. There's two ways to look at someone. Look at it as a story. If it's a story, then do not notice that person's fault. Don't overlook it. Look straight ahead how you can spring to action. Fix that person. The fact that you didn't.
How we can fix person.
The fact that Hashem showed you means that you have the ability, if you want to.
How? What they need to do?
Talk to the person. Be the kind of the person. Say, hello, how are you? You're Jewish. Well, work on the person.
Be nice to.
Yeah. Again, to her.
Yeah,
To her, to him, whatever.
Yeah.
If it's your husband, be nice to him.
Mm.
Yeah. You go on Mitzrayim, you see a woman in one life, tell her, speak to her nicely, beautifully, warmly. And it's a bislach. It's a sign that you have the koyach. And maybe not, you won't see any results now, but you never know down the road. There's stories that once upon a time a girl came over to me and she did this, and you never know what happens. We don't see things. Hashem sees the whole picture. You could plant seeds for the future. You don't know. But you're there. You are there to start the process of that person changing. The Gavaldic skills that you have. Tremendous. Huh? What?
That's very challenging.
That's all the more reason, all the more proof that it's your job.
Yeah, it's.
My whole family passed away, and I think and my son is doing the best away, and my husband and I.
I understand. And they
They
can,
tried to hear that these candles will make her life better. you know?
you think that you're doing nothing, you're accomplishing nothing. I know there's a lot of stories, I can know, tell you a million stories where people complain to the Rebbe, I'm wasting my time here. I didn't get one person upon the film, not one person. And someone saw a guy with Sichos sticking out. That person had a hero tshuva. You don't even know about. That person started thinking about, I remember the good old days I was in there, and in Russia and Poland, and suddenly they get there's suddenly thought, maybe I should become more observant, just because they saw someone with Sichos sticking out. You never know. We don't know. We don't see things. Sometimes we get the satisfaction of knowing what we accomplish, and sometimes we don't. But your job is, that's even without telling anybody. But if you happen to to see someone, go with that person, meet that person. The fact that you didn't even think about action, all you thought about it is, that story, a nice story, interesting story. That person's flaws are telling you a story. That person is terrible. So therefore, that person is terrible. What's the conclusion? What are you gonna do? Nothing. I just want to notice. I just want to watch a story. I'm watching a movie. Then it shows that you have that problem. Because every little type of vision, there's a lesson. The fact that you were shown that person false shows that you have the power to fix that person, to help that person. The fact that you look at it with an enjoyment or looking down at the person, you get a little interest in how bad that person is, that's a sign that something's wrong with you inside.
This is the difference between.
Yes. So if you feel like shame, but yeah. So going back to the question we asked at the beginning of the Sicha, why would it have to say they didn't see their father's erva? It already says they were facing the back, they're facing their backs. Yeah, it means much more than they didn't see with their eyes. Even when they did see their father naked, they didn't see it as a oy, 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 oy. They saw it as, let's spring to action. Let's help our father. Let's cover him. They saw what they have to do, not what happened. They didn't see a story, they saw a psak din, a ruling, a final ruling. And just like a Torah, when a Torah comes to final rulings, it's very clear. When a Torah wants to tell you an animal's not kosher, it says not kosher. It says tameh. Doesn't play games with being cute. So too, likewise, when you see another person and it bothers you, if you want to help that person, then it doesn't mean that you have that problem at all. Yes.
My question is like, you gave an example of like maybe strangers, but I think this happens more often in our interpersonal relationships because
Yeah.
like the people we're closest with like tends to be more
Yeah,
a challenge. Like there's also this notion now of like not fixing people and it's not in a position to fix, but especially like in interpersonal relationships, that's more delicate than like someone on the street who's not being seen as sick and can help you to conflict. How did you approach that? Yeah.
With people that you know and it's not your job.
Parents.
It might not be, yeah, but you have, again, doesn't mean you have to tell the person you did this wrong and don't become a mashpia like that. But try to work on your relationship with that person, pave a way for a more friendlier connection, be more kind. And when you act kind to that person, it might open up something. You never know. So that's what it means. Instead of telling the person off, Bochum used to be new Bochum come to the yeshiva right away. They all thought it's becoming mashpiyim right away automatically. That you're right. Don't be because that's not the way to deal with a person. You have to understand who you're talking to. They're not going to get. But at work, the doctor might also know you can't fix this person. Has to be it's a long outstretched. It'll take months or a year for that person to heal. So likewise in the spiritual term, it might take a long time. You got to start and understand what that person needs most. Something the person just needs kiruv, just needs a friend. You never know. I want to just tell you something interesting. Shmuel Lu, shliach in London, he never got an English accent. He was there 50 years. Never, he doesn't change. It's a New York accent. He's been in England for 50 years, 60 years. In his 80s now. Many years ago, he tells the following story. And he was talking to a woman, and for a long time. And someone comes over to him, someone who was Hasidically challenged, Chabad Hasidically challenged, a real snobby, comes over to him and says, "You're not ashamed of yourself? Why? Don't you see how she was dressed? Or not dressed? What's wrong with you? How do you talk? Totally inappropriate. You're not ashamed? You weren't ashamed that I didn't realize it. I didn't notice it. I didn't even notice that. I was trying to be the character. I didn't notice she was not dressed appropriately. Had I noticed, I might have felt differently. I'm sorry, I didn't notice it." He's so engrossed in his Sichos and helping her, he didn't even notice it. Not only he didn't take it as a oh, he didn't see it. And this famous story with Rabbi Brisky from California tells this Agura Hill story, a long story. You know the story? Agura Hill. I have to tell the story one time. I'll just take one tiny little piece of the story. No, he brings Bachman from Crown Heights to California to come, sleepless Shani of Kippur. So this is Shabbos Shul in between Shani and Kippur. And he has about 15 boys in his house. On the way from Shul to Rabbi Brisky's home, they see a moving truck. What's it called? Nice Jewish boys moving truck on Shabbos. They're driving nice Jewish boys moving truck. Now, if you're not Chabad, you look at that, you go, oh, nice Jewish boys, that's called being nice? Nice and Jewish? Driving on Shabbos? If you're a Chabad, wow, an opportunity. Kiruv. They go over to the guy. Shalom Aleichem, are you Jewish? Of course, we have Israelis. That's Israelis. Oh, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. They're coming to move because their next door neighbor is moving. Wait a second, you probably guys are hungry. You want cholent? We have there, Tishrei, potato. Oh yeah, music. We have music. Not musical, but they all came in, 15 guys sitting around the table, and they're all bringing, and they're enjoying themselves with the best food in the world, and they're singing and singing. Meanwhile, the guy who has to move, the next neighbor just arrives in his car, and they're caught. Their job is to move the guy, and they're busy eating now. They're eating on their job. So Babisky tells one of his nephews, do something. Guy goes out. How are you? Comes out of the car. How are you? Shalom Aleichem. How are you? You Jewish? Yeah, of course. I'm a cantor in a Reform Temple. Oh, if you're not Chabad, Reform Temple. Okay, never mind. If you're a Chabad, oh, cantor, come. We have songs. We're singing songs. Come in. But now the guy who's moving sees all his movers at Shabbos meal, and they sit there till the end of Shabbos. They're forgetting what they have to do even. They stick place until after Shabbos. So here you see a perspective. Who cares? Look, noticing it. It's obviously it's easier because the Nakish, they never form cantor probably never was brought up religious, so it's easier to have compassion and understand. But the whole perspective of non-judgmentalism, just look at the person, help. I want to just mention one more thing, Bailey, and that is that the next morning after Shabbos, like Sunday morning, Rabbi Brisky gets a note under his door. Rabbi, I don't know if you believe in God, because poor rabbis don't believe in. I don't know if you're the one amongst the rabbis who do believe in God, but God spoke through you. So he said it was not came out very strange. He called the guy. He called his name was Jack, by the way. Jack, and he had a daughter, Megan, 8-year-old girl Megan, who came out of the car with him that day. And Jack says to Rabbi Brisky, after he asked, "What do you mean when God speaks for me?" I don't know if you believe in God, but if you do, many rabbis don't. I got to tell you, because when I came to Agura Hills, I really wasn't sure whether it's the right place for me to move. I had a lot of problems with my life, and I decided, if this is the right place, God, give me a message from Shemayim, from heaven, that I am wanted over here. And after I had that thought, I was driving in the driveway, you guys come over to me and say, "Welcome to Agura Hills, Shalom Aleichem," and you gave me this cue. It was God talking. I don't know how God can speak, but if that's not God speaking, I don't know how else he can speak. So that's the part of a story that's the simple part. There's a whole long, I'll share with you another time, incredible part. But this is a perspective of tikkun, fixing, helping, not noticing the faults of another person. It's so easy to notice. It's so easy to dwell on and harp on. Sometimes feel good about it.
I thought I was bad. You have to always be on the move of trying to be. That's what the Rebbe wanted of us. So the Rebbe's motto of everything you see, it's a sign that you can. The other thing is, I can't, I'll fail. I'm stuck here, stuck there. There's no stuck. People wrote to the Rebbe, I'm stuck at the airport. We can't. You're there for a shlichus. If you're stuck, that means you're supposed to do something over there. Person's in the hospital, it means you have a shlichus to do. Guys, maybe the person that your roommate needs some kind of kiruv. Who knows? May not even be a non-Jew. Even that can be a non-Jew can also work with and work with the 7 mitzvahs of Noach. There's a lot. Even non-Jew, it can even be a non-Jew as well. Doesn't have to be a person who's Jewish. You have a shlichus there. Sometimes you don't. You never know what you never know what Hashem has in mind for us.
What you can do if someone not do?
So the mitzvah of Noach. Talk to the person.
But it-
Give out cards. There's cards they have.
Yeah,
mitzvahs.
but
You never know. It will do no harm. It might not. You never know what that can accomplish. You never know. We don't have the whole. We only see. We don't see the whole picture. Hashem sees the whole picture till the end of time. We don't see it. Understand? What do you want to ask?
Last year in one of Rabbi and Jesse's Pirkei Avos classes, we were learning that in some instances, you need to take a step back if someone is acting in a way that just is not aligned. How do we know which one to do? If we should take a step forward and help them, or take a step back and separate ourselves?
Yeah. What would be the reason you might be influenced by the person? Okay. It could be. Sometimes it's if you feel that you don't have, if you feel that the person. I mean, we don't tell people to go into places where they're gonna, walk into guys don't walk into a beach. You need a car because you're not. What's going to happen is it's going to pull you down instead of bringing the person up. Obviously, there's rules. When you know your weaknesses that you don't have the strength, it's quite obvious. You see it's already affecting you. Then it's a sign, probably from on high, that overcome your temptation of wanting to. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes your shlichus is not to focus on the other person's fault, but also for your own self, not to be able to. In other words, the sign could also be, good question. The sign could also be that why did Hashem provide you with this as a test to see if you're going to, try, even though you're going to fail, because you know your weaknesses. And if you know your weaknesses, then you don't get involved. That's clear. But if you feel, I definitely have, if I really want to, I definitely can, I can succeed. I mean, it's a thin line, but you have to know yourself. If you feel that the reason why you don't want to talk to that person is because I don't have time, I'm a little uncomfortable, right now I'm busy with other things. Where's it coming from? Is it coming from Yiras Shamayim or is it coming from laziness? Coming from worrying about losing your own Yiras Shamayim? Okay, then it's coming from an actual kids. It's coming from, I don't want to do it. I'm embarrassed, come on. I'll be a nerd, you do it, come on, it's nerdy to ask people whether they're Jewish and talking to them. Then you know where it's coming from.
If someone's being unkind or unsweetest or etc., and you don't think you can say something in a kind way, or you have tried and it just resulted in more unkindness, and you're really no longer
Another question. So you can see it's not helping. Yeah. And even if you do something kind to that person, it won't have any effect. Wish that person well, say, we're happy to see you. I hope you're well. If you have any need, you want to, totally cry on my shoulder, whatever. Say some pleasant words. Doesn't do any harm. But don't try to help the person that way. But always focus on how. My goal is how and what way I can help that person. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, 4 minutes. Yeah.
I have a question about what's on the board. We learned in our Tishrei, our classes about how the Yetzer Hara tries to make us feel bad about ourselves and how we're our own harshest critic.
Yeah.
How does that work in tandem with us being the people that we love the most? You were saying self-love can kind of put a cloud over seeing our own faults. How does that work together?
Why can't it work together?
I don't know. I guess I'm asking.
No, why do you see a conflict?
Because I think the Yetzer Hara can be really good at making us feel like down about like what we've done and like it's really good at pointing out our.
Right, you're a
transgressions.
failure, you know who you are, you're a failure, don't even try, okay?
So like, how does that compete with like this notion that self-love is the thing that blinds us when we also have our needs of harm, like kind of throwing back the curtain?
It's one and the same.
How are we on the same? Like, don't they
Where does
balance each
self-love
other
come
out?
from? Where does self-love come from? Well,
You're saying
self-love,
animals-
loving God comes from loving the truth, loving God is comes from natural kids, and loving oneself is natural Bible, same thing. Okay, I got it back.
Animal soul does both. It.
Yeah.
It does whatever it can, to, like, bring you back, but that we
It
self-love.
gives you the
or-
tendency of making it difficult for you to want to go beyond your nature. Stick to your nature. If the class was longer, I can talk more. A wonderful day,
Thank you very much.
my pleasure, always a pleasure. Get my mind off action on who knows what. Yeah,
Sichos,
it's calming, for me, it's calming to teach here. It's, go back to, what,
Say some somewhere, and for example, if you don't like something. Like what teacher,
sorry,
work on this with yourself.
not necessarily, no, but depends on what you see. Like, there's no one answer for that question, there's no one general answer. You know, when you're going to get married to someone, you have to.
Yeah, it bothers you. It's just the life is on a set, like. So,
The problem is, you have to take the pros and the cons. Write down to yourself what you like and what you don't like, and see which one weighs over with which. That's a whole different concept. You're looking for, sorry.
Yeah, it's different in Chinook.
Uh-huh,
It's different in Chinook.
of course. Yeah,
they
you know.
tell us that we have to be selfish and should have kind of.
Yeah. Once you're married, a different story, but to get. One of the reasons I'm having a long, you know, engagement is, sorry for halachic issues that can come up, is problems that you're bothered by before you're married, will not bother you after you're married. I told the story. A girl had, her looks were not very, and it bothered him very much. It bothered him so much that he couldn't hold back saying to the president, I have a love of you, great girl, but. So she agreed to go through plastic surgery for marrying her. Now, normally, she would get surgery. I'm kidding, get the. He said, okay, I'm willing. He was so humble. So what happened was, she got pregnant right away. She didn't go for the surgery. But she got pregnant again, the second time. 2 kids are married. Finally, 2 kids are born. Finally, she has a break. Tells her husband, I'm going for surgery. Oh, what's wrong? What surgery? Plastic surgery. Are you kidding? That's true. Look at this. I love you. So before, they're strangers. The connection is little things bother you, but once they're husband and wife, it's like self-love.
Wow,
Loving the spouse is like loving yourself. Same thing.
wow.
Deep, very deep.
So we do.
Right there.
Kind of prefer like, in dating, that like, oh, this is one little thing bothering me, like,